Oh, you know what, I was thinking that applied to us.
Just like in the business world, it could be a nice new title.
That's typical in banking.
All right.
There's 75.
So yes, yeah. I don't know when did they do this? Meeting agenda.
Yes.
Huh? No, I meant this agenda for tonight, but they did it before the 15th.
Yes.
Oh,
Power, okay.
okay, folks, it's 7:02 by the clock on the wall, and I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the City of Delaware Historic Preservation Commission meeting on February 22nd, 2017. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Coleman, Mr. Kehoe.
Here.
Mr. Nicely.
Here?
Ms. Riviera.
Here.
Councilman Rohr.
Here.
Vice Chairman Hatton.
Here.
Chairman Cook.
Here. Could I have a motion to excuse Mr. Coleman because he let both the city and me know that he was not going to be here?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Rohr and a second from Mr. Hatton. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Kehoe.
Yes.
Mr. Nicely.
Yes.
Ms. Riviera.
Yes.
Councilman Rohr.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Hatton.
Yes.
Chairman Cook.
Yes. Second item on the agenda is the approval of the motion summary of the Historic Preservation Commission meeting held on November 30th, 2016, as recorded and transcribed. Have you all had an opportunity to review the transcription, and do you have any additions or corrections?
Motion to accept the minutes as submitted.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Hatton, a second from Ms. Riviera. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Kehoe.
Yeah.
Mr. Nicely.
Yes.
Ms. Riviera.
Yes.
Councilman Rohr.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Hatton.
Yes.
Chairman Cook.
Yes. Item 3 on the agenda is the election of officers. I'm going to rely on the clerk to run through that.
All right, well, we will start with a chairperson. Is there any nominations?
I nominate Mr. Cook.
Can I ask a question before we get too far? Since we haven't, I know Commissioner Nicely and I are both up for renewals. So do we want to wait? It seems odd to do officers before we know that who will be making up this board going forward.
Well, at this point, you're on the agenda to be approved. To be
Okay.
reappointed on the
Okay,
board
because I know
council's discretion.
normally in the past, the mayor's had interviews and.
Are you planning to continue?
Yeah, I was.
Yes, that's my preference, right?
Right, and we didn't, the interview process usually occurs when there's been more, like, other submissions and
Okay.
applications, but we didn't have any at the time. So.
Okay, all right. That makes sense.
So it's entirely up to you. If you want to hold that off to the next meeting, or if you want to.
Well, no.
I'm then making a difference.
Just
Good.
if there's nothing, you know, I mean, I assume that the clerk, now that she's a full-time position, has the ear of the mayor.
Well, I can't answer for council whether they're going to approve. That's at their discretion how they vote, but.
Gentlemen, I like your chances.
Okay, are there, wait a minute.
So
you're
we
running
do have
this.
we have a nomination for Mr. Coe as chairman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Are there any other nominations?
I nominate Mr. Hatton for vice chair.
We got to vote on these.
Oh, we do them one at a
Is
time.
there any other nominations for chairperson?
Okay.
Okay, then we'll close the nominations and I will call the roll. Okay. Mr. Kehoe,
Yes.
Mr. Nicely,
Yes.
Ms. Riviera,
Yes.
Councilman Rohr,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Hatton,
Yes.
and Chairman Coke.
Yes.
And for vice chairman, do we have a nomination?
I nominate Mr. Hatton.
I'll second that.
Are there any other nominations? I guess, do you accept?
Yes.
Should have asked you to this. Okay, then we'll close the nominations and I will call the roll. Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Nicely?
Yes.
Ms. Riviera?
Yes.
Councilman Rohr?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Hatton?
Yes.
Chairman Coe?
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay, that takes care of item 3 on the agenda. Item 4 on the regular business agenda, 4A, is number 2016-3015, which is a request by Manos Properties, 9 North Sandusky Street, LLC, for a certificate of appropriateness for renovation of the rear addition of 9 North Sandusky Street, which is Zone B2 in the Central Business District, and located in the downtown core of the Downtown Historic District overlay. This item was tabled from an earlier meeting of November 26, 2016. I can tell you that we have a memorandum from the city, the planning director, who says that the applicant notified planning staff that he does not plan on pursuing this project. Therefore, staff recommends that this item be removed from the agenda of the Historic Preservation Commission. I have a motion to remove this item.
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
by Mr. Nicely and a second by Mr. Rohr. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yep.
Mr. Nicely?
Yes.
Ms. Riviera?
Yes.
Councilman Rohr?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Hatton?
Yes.
Chairman Coe?
Yes. Item 4B on the agenda is an informal review. It's a request by Olivina Taproom for an informal review of a proposed security gate at 44 South Sandusky in the area Zone B2 in the Central Business District, located in the downtown core of the Downtown Historic District overlay. Do we have a staff report?
Yes, we do. And referring to our PowerPoint, here is the location map, which is near the intersection of Spring and South Sandusky Street. The zoning is B2, Central Business District, as you had mentioned. And the property is located within the central core of our historic district. And then here is the aerial view of the property. And the building is also considered a contributing building in the Sandusky Street National Register Historic District, and was constructed approximately in 1910. Okay, a brief background and the proposal. The Olivina Taproom is a new retail shop which opened in 2016, and it specializes in premium olive oils, vinegars, pastas, spices, and related accessories. And the business owner and the applicant for the review is Chris Schobert, and he is here this evening. And due to the configuration of the storefront, the alcove, which is hidden behind the 4-foot section of brick wall. Unfortunately, the interior of the alcove has been used and vandalized as a restroom facility and a trash receptacle. And even though the alcove is lighted and does have security cameras, the situation is ongoing.
No pun intended.
Oh, yes, oh, I apologize.
We're all thinking.
And at this point, the applicant is proposing a security gate across the building entrance as a possible solution. The gate would be about 54 inches high, black iron with a split fold picket gate and a keyed lock. One side would be mounted to the brick wall of the storefront entrance, and the other side near the storefront windows would be mounted on a post that would be installed there. The upstairs tenant would be given a key to the gate, and the gates would swing inward and would remain open during regular business hours, and then the gate would remain closed and locked during all other times. And the applicant indicated that the width of the gates, the individual sides of the gates, could be adjusted to allow tenant to have access, to their entry door when it is open. And the picket gate design was selected to give more of an open air feeling to the gate. And then the hope was to not detract from the aesthetic of the historic building as well, and take away from the perception of the safety and security of the downtown Delaware. And the applicant realizes this design would not guarantee that trash or other items would be thrown through the gate or over the gate as well. As far as staff analysis, the city staff, is sympathetic to the applicant's dilemma, but we're also sympathetic to the aesthetics of the gate being street side on one of the major thoroughfares in the downtown area. The applicant has sought various avenues for various solutions. He has spoke with previous businesses, how it was handled in years past. He has talked with the police department, who have committed to additional patrols in the area. He has also explored possible modifications to the storefront, such as different styles and configurations of the gate itself, or possibly, constructing a flush entrance, entry wall over the opening to the storefront to create an inner vestibule. But however, he is not the building owner, and some of the gate designs and gate options did not seem agreeable to all parties. So at this point, the gate design that is included in the packet, was the best, most financially feasible and most workable of the options. Planning staff did solicit comment from other city department staff as well. Comments were received concerning the aesthetic of a locked gate across the downtown storefront. A request was made that the gate be properly maintained. Since it is iron, which has a tendency to rust, that the proper maintenance of the gate be made as a condition if approved. In terms of public safety and code requirements, both the fire department and the chief building official would require that the gate remain open at all times during business. And while the gate is open, it should not inhibit the upstairs tenant from accessing their apartment. And that's where the applicant indicated that the gate design has, could be modified to accommodate that. The gate must be locked at night. However, the upstairs tenant or visitors to the upstairs apartment must be able to exit the gate without special knowledge or operation of a key, as currently proposed, the lock would be keyed on both sides. And in order to meet current code, that type of lock design would need to be modified. So there would need to be an ADA accessible lever type handle or a push pad on the inside that would release the locked gate in case of an emergency. And also with the picket design as is, someone could simply reach through the pickets and open the gate. So a suggestion was made that a metal mesh be applied to the inside of the gate to help prevent that from happening. Staff is aware of 2 lockable iron gates in the downtown area. One gate is located at the private alley between 5 and 9 East William Street. And one of the building owners that faces North Sandusky actually owns that private alley and had installed that gate years ago. And the alley gate pushes open from the interior and then locks upon exiting. And the keyed lock, you can barely see it next to the UPS drop box. The keyed lock is on the exterior side only. And then to prevent folks from reaching through the pickets and opening the gate, there is a half moon panel that prevents people from reaching around and opening that lock from the inside. The second gate is located at the private entrance to the apartments above 24 and 26 North Sandusky Street. And the gate is inset a little. It too has pickets, but it too has that half moon panel to prevent someone's arm from reaching through and opening that lock. It is keyed on the outside, but not on the inside. So in looking back through some of the historic photos that we had, it appears that on the storefront that 4-foot brick wall, has been there for quite some time. I don't know if at one time that the brick wall wasn't there and that was an open area where you could easily access, the storefront door and the apartment door. But going back, into the 1960s, it has been there. And just going forward, and this is where we are now. It doesn't appear that our architectural standards speak directly to gated features on buildings. However, should there be positive feedback from the commission this evening, the applicant may submit his application with the technical building and fire code requirement modifications. The application may be submitted to be approvable at the administrative level, or the case may be placed on the next HPC meeting agenda, which is March 22nd, for final determination. And so if I'd like to invite Chris to come up to the table and provide your name and address and entertain questions.
This is, oh, I'm sorry, could you identify yourself
Hi,
for the record?
I'm Chris Schultz. I'm the sole proprietor of Olive Bean Tap Room.
Is there anything that you would like to add to the staff report that wasn't covered?
Necessarily, I believe Diane did a nice job in covering some of our challenges with our particular neighbor and issues that we've had over the last few months. I thought it was very interesting in the sense that a lot of the previous business owners that have been residents in our particular spot have said and stated the same thing that we've determined. So we just wanted to prevent any further issue in a way that protects not only our storefront, but the investments we made in it. Yeah, like we've said, we've done all the things we thought were going to help. Cameras, lighting, you name it, we've tried it, minus, maybe an electrical shock or something.
I was going to say, how about an electrical grid?
Yeah, look. But at this point, we just wanted to at least really prevent someone from trying to do that by putting a gate up. We don't really want to do that. The landlord, Scott Atway, has promised some version of some protection for us as well as our tenant upstairs. And both of us have witnessed a variety of issues over the last few months. And they're not getting any better. We've always discovered beer bottles smashed in there and vomit and all kinds of fun stuff. All on video when we get a chance to review it. So, but the point being is it's more important to really protect the asset. And I'm sure Scott would echo those statements of trying to protect his property and investment, but more so, for us, we're a business. We want to invite people in. And the last thing we want them to do is walk through some of that to get to our shop. And therefore, we looked at a variety of options. It's an unfortunate kind of weird alcove. We have a couple of choices of doing a solid gate or a half gate. I like the idea of the half moon to protect people. What we're just trying to do is prevent people from going in. And we understand that if someone really wants to get in, they're going to hop over the gate. The last thing I want to do is have a New York style pull down thing. But we feel like this is a nice option. It's low cost. It's not too obstructive. It's nice and airy, and we'll maintain it the way we need to.
Okay. Do commission members have any comments?
So we're just trying to agree on the aesthetics of it, and then you'll have to worry about the safety for the tenant and stuff otherwise.
I have more weighty comments on it than that. And I see Mr. Hatton is writing an essay next to me here. Were you aware of the fact that this has to be not require a key from the inside to get out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Initially,
That's a complication in this situation.
Yeah. When I reviewed this with the designer, they had mentioned that there would probably be a requirement from a code perspective. I understand it too. I was an architect student a long time ago. And so what I thought was, having some sort of mesh or protectant from the inside so it could just be pushed out, whereas you can't reach around, might be good. But we would have to increase height to some degree.
It occurs to me that it's not much of a problem to reach right over.
Correct.
You want to go
Yeah,
first?
just
I had
question.
suggestions.
One of the things staff had mentioned was that you had kind of looked through a couple other options. Can you tell us what the other options that were discussed were?
There was one long gate that we discussed that would open outward. The issue being is it's too long. It would go across our property and into Clancy's. And then in front of the building, if you want to go back to the slide that shows the front, there is a gas pipe that kind of comes in on the right side there.
Right.
So unfortunately, the gate can't. The design of it is too big then to swing across.
Right. So short of gates, you'd mentioned like a flush storefront. What else had you looked at?
The sort of airlock idea would be creating a second entrance, where we'd have a wall covering the whole front. And unfortunately, the landlord doesn't want to spend that type of money, even though there might be a grant option available. He didn't want to change the look of the front of the building by creating an actual airlock. Even with grant money, still above and beyond what he wanted to spend. Now, I wish he was here to obviously explain that, but that's.
Okay. Well, and one of the reasons I ask is certainly we have restaurants who are now coming to us, and we've seen at 14 West, they have a temporary vestibule.
Correct.
And I know you're not a restaurant, but I know you serve food and tastings and things. And so I wondered if climate control and insect control wouldn't be a plus without having to put up a big metal gate.
Right.
So when we look at that, I know that Alley Gate came before HPC, and I know the gentleman who, that was yours, wasn't it? Wasn't that your property?
The one that's showing
Yeah.
there, yes,
Yeah.
we were instrumental, our partnership was instrumental in getting permission and shared expense collection from all the properties that use that pedestrian alley, and we had that installed.
Right. So that came before HPC. The one in front of the apartment, I think it certainly predates me on HPC. That may predate HPC. I think they maybe updated it, but I think there's been a gate. I think there's been a gate there ever since I've been around.
Yeah, I looked at that gate today.
So one of the things that we all have to look at here, and it's not in the code, but a lot of that is because you just can't anticipate everything. Sometimes you have, and which is why this body exists. But from my perspective, not really a legal perspective, but from my perspective as a member of this commission, when we do things, I look at that as we've created a precedent. Again, it's not a legal precedent, but for me, I call it a moral precedent. I have a hard time if you say, look, we have issues in our alcove, we want a gate. And if we say yes, then Typhoon springs to mind. They have the exact same situation with an apartment and a restaurant. By and large, most of our buildings have recessed entryways. It's kind of the way they were designed.
Right.
And I think, one of the things we as a commission have to think of is, okay, if it's on your building, that's one thing, but what if it's on 6 buildings? What if it's on 12 buildings? Because I think as a business owner, we've had the Hamburger Inn springs to mind. They had this ceramic glass that was constantly getting broken from skateboarders and people kicking it, and people leaving bars and doing things. It's in my mind, it's difficult to drunk proof downtown, for lack of a better word. And I completely understand there's nothing more frustrating, whether you're a private property owner or business or whatever, than what you're going through. I'm just trying to think if there's a way that we can do it that doesn't involve putting a big metal gate up. And that's why I even wondered, and I understand you don't own the building, but can you go to the picture of the alcove? And that's not a great one, but if they moved the wall where 44B is, turned that perpendicular, built a wall perpendicular to Sandusky, you still have an alcove, but the problem is you have an alcove that's like a cave back in there, right? It's completely private.
Yes.
And so that would eliminate that. Then you have the exact same storefront alcove as anyone else. Now we can't help the fact that you're located next to a bar. That probably doesn't help.
Correct.
But we have a lot of those downtown, and we don't seem to have a lot of these problems. So I'd like to really encourage you, and I know you don't make that final decision, but you and the property owner to maybe come up with a solution that doesn't involve a big metal gate, which I think would set a precedent.
What about
downtown?
Sorry to interrupt. What about if you go back to the slide that shows the mailboxes? Diane, thank you. What about a gate that is just covering this particular alcove so you don't see it from the street?
From my perspective, it would be better.
I mean, just to be blunt, this particular person that lives upstairs deals with this more than I do.
Yeah.
And primarily it's because that person has late hours, so they come in and out right at the time when there's a lot of people hanging out.
Okay.
I unfortunately, I close at 6 right now. I might open a little later, but the point being is that she's going to deal with all of this herself. And she's a single lady, so she's very, touchy when it comes to that. You can see her camera right there. It's actually mounted right in the window. But if we were to maybe look at an option to cover just that, instead of the front half. I mean, maybe that would help.
I could feel better when it's, you can see it somewhat from the street, but not much. And I also have a little easier time with that because we do have the one in front of an apartment entrance. To me, when we look at those other iron gates, to me that says, don't go there. The one in the alley is saying, don't go there. The one in the apartment is saying, this isn't a business entrance, right? And that's kind of why those are there to a degree. And so if it were sideways, again, perpendicular to Sandusky, at least in my mind, it's kind of saying this is not store, right? And then I think will it eliminate it? I don't know. I think unfortunately you're kind of in the path, the walking path of
Right.
people going home. But I don't know if anybody, that's kind of my thoughts.
Yeah, I would, thank you. I would add to that, that was actually my thought as well. If maybe the idea of covering just the alcove, precisely because of what Commissioner Hatton says, there is the issue of precedence. We don't want to set something that's going to run out of control. And I think part of what we do is we need to be able to justify if we are making some sort of a limited exception, like temporary vestibules or these sorts of things, we need to be able to explain why this isn't going to be a standard practice. And I think by saying that we are taking a very unique kind of alcove that is shielded because of that 4-foot brick wall, we can talk about that as a case not just of sanitation, but also of public safety, because it's a very recessed, hidden alcove, not visible from the street once you're back in there. And I think that alone could be a reason why we could say we can justify doing that. Even if then we turn around and the next business that comes along just wants to have this visible gate, we can say no, not necessarily. And so I think that might be an option. The other one is, I don't know if you mentioned, never mind, I retract that when I see there is a spotlight. I was going to say maybe an
That's
intense
actually
spotlight in the evening. but-
There's two. There's a motion light and there's a bright LED that I light up on. It's very, very bright in there.
Pretty
I
much
think,
everything.
I
short
think,
data.
yeah, I was going to say, I think the electric shock might be in order.
We have two cameras, one that faces that wall and one I have up in my corner that shows outside.
Now, personally, I don't have a problem with the gate, especially because it's open all the time you're open. It's only closed in the evening when you close.
Understand that gate won't solve the problem.
Oh, I understand, but
It's
it
going to
might-
have to be a gate
might-
that's 6 or 7
might
feet
delay
tall.
the problem a little bit, or they might not have as good a name or something. But also, I have a gate across my driveway, an iron gate, and I have an electric, it can be an electric automatic opener. I have it set up as solar. And when it closes, you can do it with a keypad or a little like garage door opener. And I believe it's 2,500 pounds of pressure to open it, except when you use the keypad. So that might be another option if you do get the gate rather than a key.
Mhm.
And you could have a keypad on either side of the gate, probably with a locked cover on the outside. Just another idea.
In that this is an informal review, I'm going to do basically the same kind of thing that Mr. Hatton did. I have considerable experience with design and construction and maintenance problems with downtown buildings. And I'm a designer vocationally. I think if this were my problem, I know, having dealt with the company that you've got a quote from for this half-height gate, that they're not inexpensive. I have a proposal for a solution which, if I owned the building or if I were the tenant on the first floor, would appeal to me, and that is, instead of this custom-made iron gate, which I know is not going to be cheap, and the gate that we're looking at here will not solve the problem because it's going to have to be at least 2 feet higher than that and that much more obtrusive. I think it would be cheaper and a better solution, from my review, to move the door to the apartment to the new location of a wall built across the alcove so that the door of the apartment opened inward into the alcove and you went up the stairs. It's frame construction, it would be cheaper. That door that's there is appropriate for that use. It could just be relocated and rehinged to open inward into that alcove, which is essentially the same solution you were thinking of. I'm virtually certain it would be cheaper to build the wall out of studs and move that door and finish it off than it would be to buy this iron gate. And the iron gate that we're looking at will not solve the problem because it can't meet code. I guess that's my suggestion. If it were my building and my problem to deal with, I think that would be a better solution. But it's not my building and it's not your building, so.
I think to your point, though, it's not his building either, so I don't know if
Right.
we can really do much of anything without the owner here to say what he's willing to do.
No, I agree with that.
But my guess is less money is usually a positive thing, right?
Yeah.
Well, is the owner talking about participating in the cost of this gate, or is that
Yes.
your burden?
Yeah, the burden is on him
Oh, okay.
from a cost perspective, yeah.
Well, I think that gives the frame solution of moving the door a leg up because
Right.
I'm certain from lots of experience that building that stud wall and moving that door to a new jamb
Right.
would be cheaper than buying and installing this iron gate.
And drilling through concrete to set a post.
Well, that too.
Fairly.
Anybody else have any suggestions that they want?
I have just one question for you, actually. I'm just curious, because I know you mentioned in the one corner, there's been various problems with soiling of the corner and trash and so forth. And how many euphemisms we can come up with here. Has there been a problem with any of the other parts there that are visible from the street with the same issues, or is
Yeah,
it mostly behind the wall?
No, it's the full area inside. They throw beer bottles in there and cigarette butts and chewing tobacco against my window and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, as you pointed out, the gate's not going to solve that problem regardless, right?
No, the
Just
game
more
won't
of
solve that.
it's the urination and
They really
vomiting
want
that's
to
the
throw
issue, yeah.
things, we'll throw things. Right.
Yeah.
No gate's going to solve that problem.
The code issue
Yeah.
of having to be able to exit through that gate at all hours with no key is going to make this design not adequate. This gate, instead of being 54 inches high, is probably going to have to be 7 feet high, I would
Above
guess.
man height, right?
And then have the half moons.
And that increases the cost
Right.
of it. And it increases the iron gate look in front of your business, which is not really welcoming.
I think you probably need with the gate in the middle, don't you need a full moon, like.
Right.
Unless you put the handle on the side. I guess.
I can reach around, yeah.
Well, I'd say
Right. Right.
since it's an informal review, I guess my views on it, if you're taking this back to the building owner, my initial preference from aesthetic standpoint, I think would be to go with Roger's suggestion of a framed out wall. Personally speaking, I would not be opposed to the smaller gate over just this enclosed alcove portion. All else being equal, I mean, obviously wait till the official design were submitted, but if you're going to be taking this back to the owner, I think from my point of view, I definitely think that's the preferred solution, and presumably for cost as well. So that's what I would suggest.
Are there any questions you have or?
No, that's very fair. This is my first time on one of these, so clearly I don't know how it's going to go, but
Well,
I
believe it or
will-
not, we're here to help.
yeah, no, this is a great idea. I mean, I love the idea of, I just feel like I'm not sure what the business owner or the building owner is going to say about that.
I would venture to say that you said that the building owner was going to pay for the gate. If you were doing a 50-50 share, I would guess that changing the location of the existing door with a little bit of framework and some siding would be cheaper than half of this Fortin gate that you're looking at.
Yeah, I was actually surprised by how low the bid came in for that gate, so I have a feeling it would be about the same price. But that's up to the owner, Scott Atway. I'll talk to them. No, this is great. This is all I needed to really hear from you guys. This gives me information to go back to Scott and talk as part of our deal with our lease and our agreement of having protection for our property. So it allows me to have the conversation. So that's good.
If it's a problem for you, it's a problem for him too, and especially for his other
Absolutely.
tenant.
Yeah, absolutely great.
Any further comments or?
The only one I would suggest is if you're going back, at least from my point of view, I'm a security-minded person, I suppose, but the issue that I brought up of public safety might be an important factor for the building owner as well. Given that you have a single tenant living there, going in and out of this dark little alcove late at night next to a bar, that's another issue that you may not want to attract that kind of attention.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. He is a lawyer, so I'm hoping he understands it.
No lawyer jokes now.
It's okay.
You don't want to do that.
Well, once again, welcome to downtown.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry you have this particular problem, but as you point out, you're not the first.
Exactly. No worries. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
The help.
Thank you.
Thanks for being part of the downtown.
So just from my curiosity then, let me know what next steps are. If this is not administrative, then I assume there has to be another proposal drawn up for a particular review. Is that correct? Okay.
A formal application would be, yeah, you submit a design and a proposal, and Diane is the one to work with the city.
What's our deadline for the next meeting, Diane?
Technically, it would be today, but the next meeting is March 22nd, so I would be able to accept the materials up to around March 10th.
Okay, thank you.
I would mention if you do move forward with submitting a formal application, I think you've done very nicely in this, just make sure that you have lots of detail in terms of materials, dimensions, all that, because that's perennially one of the stumbling blocks if someone comes to us and doesn't have that. So the more you can put in there, the better. Colors, textures, etc.
Good advice. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Chris.
You betcha. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Item 5 on the agenda is commission member comments and discussion. I'm curious about the ongoing signage issues that we have downtown. Are we making progress, knowing that we don't have the personnel to go out and seek these things out? Are the ones that we've brought up in the past, are you having any luck dealing with them?
Slow headway, constant reminders, compliance one day, non-compliance the next. So it's ongoing.
Is there any resolution to any of the questions raised for the ironwork around the patio of the Hamburger Inn?
That is, actually, we just are starting our revocable temporary use, our sidewalk use permits, also known as the patio permits. We are starting that entire process, and as you know, this is an annual process. And so the Hamburger Inn will be resubmitting a new application. Dave Eflin and I have had conversation with Bill Michaelitis concerning, the certain items. And we have another meeting scheduled for the 27th of this month. So he can submit his revised application.
He's taken the flower pots down because he said he would, and probably because it's a seasonal issue.
Right.
But there are, I think, still a number of aspects of the ironwork around his patio that far exceed what is allowed and permitted for enclosure of a sidewalk dining facility.
Right.
It looks a little bit like a prison cell.
Right, and so, like I said, on the 27th, we're going to be reiterating, the items, and he'll be, submitting his application for approval again.
Are there any other commission member comments and discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I have one. I just wanted to kind of state for anyone that's out there watching in the cyber world, while I certainly appreciate for the past 6 years the opportunity to have been on this commission and look forward to what hopefully will be another 3-year term, I just want to express somewhat of a sadness that there have been no other applications, because as a body that's part of our civic democracy that we have here in our town, I think it would be very nice if there were other members of the community that expressed interest in serving on these sorts of commissions. And so I just want to kind of put that in the record, so to speak. It'd be nice if there were people out there that want to engage in our democratic process, that they do so.
Well, I happen to have heard that one of our current members will be leaving, and that would make an opportunity for you to go out and suggest to people in the community that have an interest that they might
That's true.
apply.
That's true. I have
I
somebody
think
in
the
mind as you
city-
speak.
The city's done a much better job, and part of it, I think, is just with the internet, but, they're posted, I see them in the paper. So, I think if people are engaged, they see that it's out there. Now, maybe they don't know what it's all about, I don't know, but, I think the city's doing everything they can, I think, to reach out. I'm not
Yeah.
sure what else they could do.
No, I agree with you.
I think the Citizens Academy really helps too. I went through it a few years ago, and it was really an interesting class. And I think a lot of people have come through it and gotten more interested. I think perhaps they didn't know what was out there to volunteer for. It gives them a venue to learn a little bit more and to want to participate. So I think that's always good.
Definitely.
If that's it, item 6 on the agenda is announcing that the next regular meeting is scheduled for March 22nd, 2017. And I would call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. By my reading of Robert's Rules of Order, that makes us adjourn, I believe.